You're listening to Celebrating Simple Life, the podcast. I'm Kimberly Evans, and I've been planning incredible events for the past 16 years. I'm passionate about connecting people, creating purposeful gatherings, and making the most out of every moment. Join me as we learn together how to find joy, celebrate the simple things in life, use events to grow your business, and have a whole lot of fun along the way. Every day can be a reason to celebrate. Cheers to Celebrating Simple Life. Celebrating Simple Life, the podcast, is a proud member of the Saskatchewan Podcast Network, which is supported by Conexus. Conexus Credit Union is all about their members. Improving their financial well-being drives everything they do. And that's not just something they say. It's a promise that's delivered by over 900 employees across Saskatchewan. Their employees are members too, and they've been there, so they are committed to making your money work for you. The banking industry needs to change, and Conexus is changing it for everyone because Conexus cares. Visit conexus.ca to learn more. Today on Celebrating Simple Life, the podcast, I'm chatting with Sandra Grahame, CEO of Smart Cookies. Sandra is a money expert whose own financial success story led to an invitation to Oprah's stage. She's the co-author of the Smart Cookies Guide to Making More Dough and the Smart Cookie Guide to Couples and Money. As an entrepreneur, she's grown the Smart Cookies brand into a leading online education platform, helping thousands of ambitious women from all over the world achieve life-changing financial goals. She's a national media expert, sharing her inspiring and relatable take on money on Today Show, CNN, The New York Times, and more. She believes you can feel amazing about your money and feel amazing about your life. She could have never predicted where her money journey would take her, and her excitement in helping others is contagious. Sandra and I connected through the Shine Summit, and she is on board as one of our incredible panel speakers. You know when you meet someone for the first time, in this case, virtually meet, and you just know you're going to be great friends? Well, that is how I feel about Sandra. She is a lovely woman on the inside and out, and I can't wait for you to tune into our conversation today.
Hello, Sandra. How are you today?
I'm doing so good. So good to connect with you.
Absolutely. And it's a sunny day, and I was looking at the weather prior to getting on our episode here today, and I think Denver and Saskatoon are similar weather forecasts today, which is crazy because we were still having massive snowstorms last week.
So were we. I feel like we're on the same weather wavelength, and today the sun is out. I had all my little tulips. Like, that was the one thing this year that I really got into was gardening, and so I had meticulously planted all these bulbs in our yard in the fall, and then they all came up, and then we got the snow, and I was frantically out there covering the little
your little
owls.
baby.
My little baby tulips saved themselves. Hold strong.
Oh, and they surfaced. Isn't that a miracle?
Yeah, exactly. Focusing on those little bright spots these days, for sure.
Isn't that the truth? Well, my silver lining this week was that I could wear runners outside for going for a walk rather than massive winter boots. That was what I was grateful for.
I love that. I can appreciate that, for sure.
Right? Oh, so I am so excited to chat with you today. It feels, we've discussed it before, we've only ever had phone conversations and not met in person, but I feel like I've known you for forever. You just have this lovely energy about you, and I'm so excited to chat today.
Well, thank you. And you know I feel the same. I feel like we got off that first phone call, and I was like, well, we're officially best friends, and we've been best friends for 30 years, and off we go. This is happening. This is great.
I love it. So for my listeners who have somehow not heard of you and the business that you have created, I would love for you to introduce yourself and your business and just tell us a little bit about how Smart Cookies all began and how this all got started.
Okay, for sure. So the business of Smart Cookies got started probably, it's been over 12 years now, which is so crazy. It does not feel like that. And the whole reason it did get started was I was living in Vancouver at the time, and I was a young professional woman. I had a great job. I was a couple years out of college, and I remember one day, and I wanted to buy my first home. Now, living in Vancouver, that is a very daunting task because the real estate is so expensive. So I remember sitting down at the computer and Googling, how to buy your first home. And I found there were like bits and pieces of information everywhere, and nothing was really speaking to me as a young woman, and I wasn't able to dissect it and digest it in a way that felt really inspiring and helpful. And so I was having a conversation with my girlfriend, Ange, who I went to school in Ontario at Western. And Ange was living in Vancouver at the time too, and I remember saying, we got on the topic of money, and we started having this conversation about, why isn't there financial education geared more towards young women, and not only geared towards, but taught by, in a way that, we will talk about anything with our girlfriends, anything, but we don't talk about money. And so that weekend we went to the bookstore, and I think we bought like every single personal finance book we could by David Bach and Gene Chapsky. And I'm obviously a huge money nerd, so like those were my personal finance books. I love it. At the time, I'm always like, oh, David Bach and Gene Chapsky. And people are like, who? Like, what? So those were my heroes. I really geek out on that. But so we just sort of talking about how to educate ourselves and each other. And then that week I went to work, and I worked for a very entrepreneurial company in Vancouver, and I worked with Andrea and Katie. And Andrea came up to me at work the Monday after we had this conversation with Ange, and she said, hey, I caught this episode of Oprah at the time was doing a series she called her Debt Diet, where she was working with families across America to help them ditch their debt.
I remember
and had Gene Chapsky and David Bach and like all my personal finance nerds on there with her. And so Andrea had come to work and said, hey, would you guys want to get together and start a club, and, we could help each other through this and help each other with our financial goals. And I went like back to my little cubicle and picked up the phone, and I called Ange, and I was like, you're never going to believe it. Andrea, this girl at work, is talking about exactly what we were talking about over the weekend. And so we ended up, there was one more girl. So Andrea brought her friend Robin. So it was the five of us who sat down at Katie's kitchen table in downtown Vancouver. And that very first meeting, we brought our bank statements and our credit card statements, and we talked about money openly. And for a lot of us, that was revealing some debt. That was talking about our goals. I was talking about my goal to buy a home, and we really quickly developed this plan. We had printed out all of the guides that Oprah had on her website, and we really quickly were all very like A-type personalities. So we created our own little system for creating our goals and for supporting one another and for holding each other accountable. And over the course of that year, we ended up increasing our earnings by hundreds of thousands of dollars. That was a big goal of ours, to figure out ways to start our own businesses on the side, to negotiate salary increases for each other. That was something I'm sure our boss at the time was like, awesome, because we were all talking about like, what do you make? What do you make? And then we were walking in demanding raises. Demanding is not the right word, but going through that process. But we were super successful. And so we paid off over $50,000 of debt collectively, put money in investments. And so we ended up, a year later, we were invited onto Oprah to share our story about how we did it. And from there, so Smart Cookies was not a business. We called ourselves the Smart Cookies within our little squad, but there was no.
So I need to dig into this here a little bit. I know I am going to get so many questions about this. So you guys, at this moment in time, you are meeting together, and you're essentially like girls' night outing, a money club.
Yes.
Like this is you're not like telling anybody else that people are not hiring you to help them. This is like not a thing. You are literally probably like having a glass of wine and like talking about your money together.
Exactly. It was
wow.
We were doing it for each other. And I think we had actually a couple thoughts of like, oh, we should do this and invite other people. But I think we always thought in our heads, I think we were scared because we thought you had to be, an accredited, certified financial planner and, have a bunch of certifications. And what we realized after, and we had talked about that too, like maybe we should do that. But really it was just something we were doing for ourselves. And it wasn't until, obviously, when we were on Oprah stage and we we were in the
hold on. I need to back it up again. Honestly, like you exit the words out of your mouth. Yeah, when I was on Oprah stage, like do you think that yourself and you're like totally, and you're like, this actually happened to me with the infamous woman who might be the most famous human alive right now. How did that all come about? How did it come from you guys hanging out in each other's homes talking about your money to suddenly Oprah calls you? Because you hear these stories and you're like, okay, but how did this actually happen, Right.
Yeah, so let's connect the dots. So Katie and I worked in the PR department at the business that we worked for in Vancouver. So Katie was on Oprah's website one day, just like scouring around looking for ways to pitch our boss and pitch the company. And she noticed they were doing a call out on the website for debt diet success stories. So she put together, and by put together, I mean opened up the little form and sent an email. I still have the email. And it has spelling mistakes in it. But what it does include, and I think this is important, is she highlighted specific numbers from what we had accomplished. So like those numbers about increasing our earnings and paying off the debt, and then talked about, our friendship together and also what had happened in our lives, because it was more than the money. It was also increasing confidence. It was, seeing the best in each other. It was, every area of our lives had elevated because of what we had done and the confidence we'd gained from taking control of our money. So she highlighted those little stories. And of course, talked about how the series that Oprah had put together had inspired us. And she got off the email and didn't think anything of it. It's not like she was like, oh, you guys, I pitched this to Oprah. We didn't even know. We had no idea. And she didn't think anything of it. And then, it went into email cyberspace and probably fell into the lap of some poor intern who was sorting through thousands of responses. And the way that Katie framed the email caught the eye of it, then was transferred. I think the first person who contacted us wasn't a producer. It was just sort of a researcher. And she called Katie, and Katie's cubicle was on the other side of mine. And Katie pops up, and she's mouthing to me, "It's Oprah, it's Oprah." Obviously it's not Oprah calling, but I'm like, what? And I'm like, it's for the company, it's for the boss. And I'm like, amazing, oh my God, blah, blah. And she gets off the phone. She's like, no, they want to talk to us about the Money Club and Smart Cookies and what we've been doing. So after we had a mini heart attack, we got ourselves all of the information, and they asked for so much information. And by that point, we were back and forth with the woman who would become our producer and amazing mentor and a lifelong friend to us after. Honestly, the way that she has supported us even now is above and beyond. So
wild.
Yeah. And so they flew up. So Stacy flew out to Vancouver to shoot with us in Vancouver. And then a few weeks later, this all happened within a period of 2 weeks when I think about it, which is so crazy.
From
by the
when
time
we
we sent
submitted the email.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And that was that. And so then we flew to Chicago, and we knew we were part of the show. And so, but if you remember how Oprah used to do it, she said they'd play the package, the footage that they shot. And then the guest, we didn't expect to be on stage. We thought we would be in the first row of the audience, and she would, ask us a couple questions or maybe direct a couple things to us. So we didn't know we were actually on stage until the commercial break. The show was rolling, and there was a commercial break. And they put 5 stools on the stage, and we all looked at each other like, holy what? And walk up to the stage, and it's so funny. So during the commercial break, because there's 5 of us, and we were on stage with Gene Shapsky. And so Oprah is looking at us and making sure that she knows our names. What is happening? Oprah is saying our names. Trying to just not fall off the stool and pass out. And Oprah directs her first question at Robin, who self-admittedly is probably the shyest of all of us. And Robin does an amazing job, gives an articulate response. It's amazing. And then if you watch the footage back, Robin grips the bottom of her chair, and she is shaking so bad. She just, all I could think about was, do not fall off of this stool.
Yeah, we've got one shot here, ladies.
I know. Oh, let's pull it together. Let's give it our A game. Oh my God! So thankfully, coherent words came out of our mouth. Yeah, it was amazing.
I absolutely love that you had no idea that you were going on stage. I love that you did not know that.
I feel like they do that strategically so you don't pee your pants. There's no other there has some method to the madness. But yeah, no, it was an incredible experience, and to be able to do that, with your best girlfriends was
no kidding.
So special.
So fast forward now. So this all happens, and in that moment, I guess, from after, obviously, Oprah has brought a lot of individuals, businesses, organizations to light because of featuring them in teeny tiny minuscule clips that then obviously are broadcasted so far to so many people that they can turn things around for people, right? So how did you find going on there with this not even being a business? This was just a girls group. Yes. How did that change your dynamic of what you maybe thought could be possible after having that incredible experience? Yeah,
instantly we knew we needed to move really fast. And so in the limo on the way back to the airport, I remember calling my brother, he's a programmer, he's very tech savvy. I was like, right, we need a website? Oh my gosh, we should probably put something together. And so we had, I think we had a splash page. We had something up when the episode aired so that there was something out there to be able to connect with people. So we knew we needed something, and then we could build on it. So that was step one. And then the other amazing thing that happened on that show was that we were on with, and I've mentioned her name a couple of times, Jean Chapsky. So she's the financial editor of the Today Show. She has several amazing personal finance books geared at women. So we were on stage with her because at the time she was coincidentally talking about the idea of a money club. So when our story came about, it was a perfect example to tie everything together. So Jean had a radio show on Oprah's network. And so after the show, she said, will you guys come on? I'm doing an interview with David Boxty. Will you guys come on and share your story? And so we went straight from taping that episode to taping with Jean in her studio. And she said on air, you guys, I'm going to introduce you to my literary agent. You have to write a book. And so Jean ended up introducing us to her literary agent in New York. And so those pieces were already in the works even before we left Chicago. And so by the time the episode aired, we had we knew that what we were doing was something that was going to be able to help a lot of women who were like us and who just wanted to feel empowered and feel like they could make smart choices with their money, and that it was more than money, and that there was a huge potential to help a lot of people take control of their money and make it fun and make it inspiring and make something that doesn't want to poke your eyes out with boredom. So that's sort of where the vision of things.
That is so amazing. I love stories like that because I feel like I've had a few situations in different capacities that have happened in my own life and in friends and business colleagues and people that I've talked to, where the amazing things that can happen when you actually just decide to take a chance on something and just send that one email, whatever the case may be, whatever was running through her mind when she decided that she was just going to send the email, which was no big deal, but turned into something so spectacular. And I think that you don't always notice those opportunities in front of you, but it's super cool when you do and what can happen.
Yeah, totally. I'm such a believer in that. And I've seen that same with you. And I feel like that's why we connect so much. And it's that, being able to, those opportunities present themselves even when you're just kind of opening your mind to it a little bit. And you never know where, that one opportunity is going to lead you. And it can, be the most incredible thing. But I think, talking about it and shifting your mindset, and also, when you surround yourself, I think there's something so magical that happens when women especially support one another and talk openly about their goals and about their vision and about their dreams. That puts such an energy, this is going to go a little woo-woo, but I feel like that puts such an energy out to the universe, and that women are very intuitive and that other and support each other, and those opportunities have a way of finding you, and you have a way of finding them when you're kind of in that magic gel land.
I agree to all of those things. I think that what I feel so excited for, and I think even amidst this COVID crisis that we're in right now, I almost feel like this is happening even more than ever, because I feel like there's a lot of social things happening. I feel like my weeks are jammed filled with lots of really great things. They're just happening in a very different way than they would have happened maybe a month or two ago. And I think even just last week, I had an amazing I'm a part of a group called the Well Collaborative here in Saskatoon, and it is exactly what you just described. It's a women's organization where we sort of help each other in life and business, and it's just the conversations that can come out of people when they are open enough, and this makes me think of what you girls did when you all met together for the first time, when you can be open enough to share the most vulnerable parts of you, which is different for everybody, right? Something that might scare somebody else might not scare me, and vice versa, where money isn't a topic that feels like something that I would shy away from. That would be a no problem for me. But there's other things that would feel like a bit nerve-wracking to talk about with people. And I think that it's so cool to be able to put that out there, because that for me is what I feel makes me at least feel more connected to somebody that I maybe wouldn't have been before, because they're being just as open back to you as you are with them, and it just turns that into a safe space.
Yeah, I love that so much, and I think that's where the magic happens, right? When we can do that for ourselves, and like you say, doing that virtually, I think what's interesting about what's happening now and the connections that we're making and the work that we're doing is that it has, when you're in this strange time together, it brings although we're virtual, we're connected more in a certain way, and we're all being whether or not you're actually physically slowing down, like when things shift a little bit, it shifts your mindset, like in the world in general. It shifts your mindset to what you're paying attention to what you're prioritizing, to all of those things. And I think it a lot of times can hone in a focus and can hone in a connection, and that, I felt like that the first week that this all kind of, in those days where everything was literally changing day by day. And I oddly felt this, and I still have like a surge of energy and focus that I haven't had in years. And I think that there's something, and I kept wanting to say, like, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity in this time. And during those first few days, I was like, I don't want to say that, because like, I know this is like a really scary
I don't want somebody to come burn my house down because they're so angry.
Exactly. Exactly. But I'm like, I feel like so many beautiful things are going to emerge on the other side of this, in terms of, especially for women, and them, having creative breakthroughs and starting something new that is going to like start as a little something right now and explode on the other side of this. So
I totally
right?
agree. Yeah. And I think that for we keep referencing women because obviously we are women, so that's sort of maybe more like who we would be relating to. But I feel like for the people that are really struggling in this last month, I feel like that almost is an indication of not wanting to be vulnerable enough to notice what could happen in all of this. Like, I think there's a lot of reasons, and I feel like I too feel like I'm treading softly on certain topics because I know that everybody has their like own opinions about stuff, and there's a lot of things that I'm seeing out there too that I don't necessarily like agree with or relate to, but it can just be what it is, and that's fine. But I feel like it's uncomfortable to be uncomfortable in your emotions. And I think that if you can embrace the uncomfortableness of having to refigure out life as we knew it, and there are a lot of scary situations. Like, I have a child that has compromised health with having cystic fibrosis. So this has been added some extra challenges and some extra anxiety that we live with all of the time anyways, but this has just heightened that a little bit right now. And seeing my friends as small business owners who are really having massive financial struggles because of the way things have been set up in the last month, or not set up, and just learning, just like learning new life and learning new things. And I think one of the conversations that keeps coming to mind right now is that we've had this conversation with some of our close circle of friends where it's like, we know that we've built such a wonderful community of friends and business colleagues and people that are just our people, that we know we would never let anything happen to our community. And I think that's the fortunate and unfortunate part, because there is a lot of people that unfortunately, even before this all started, didn't have that kind of community around them, where just the way life is and the way things happen and the way they are, that's sort of turning certain scenarios to being more vulnerable than others, right? And so I'm just so grateful for our community, because I know that no matter what life throws at us, if we would start losing everything amidst this, we have people around us that would never let that happen. And I think that that's so powerful and amazing to think that is the way that it is.
Yeah, I think that's amazing to have gratitude for that. And I also think that connection in those communities like you have will start to, spring up even more after this, right? Like, people will realize how much they really need each other and they need that community. And whereas, we've been so busy with other things, when we're faced with something like this and you see how, like, the real value in that and the mind that gives, that's going to be a priority. And that can do nothing but good if people are focusing on that as a priority on the other side of this. So there is a lot to look forward to, I think.
I totally agree. So, okay. So I could talk to you for hours. So I'm going to back up the story here, because I want to hear how the story continues. So you've now landed this book deal, and you're like working together on stuff, and life is just moving forward in a different trajectory. So are you guys all at this point, your girl group of Smart Cookies, are you still all working your regular jobs that you were working before this, and you're still just meeting with each other as I don't want to call it a social group, but not a business. You're just meeting together as a social group to like help keep inspiring each other to keep on your money finance goals. And so how do you move forward from this? Like, what was your next step?
Yeah, so we all, no one quit their day jobs. We were all like, okay, we need to be smart cookies. And there was no immediate money. I mean, there was not like we were on Oprah and we were like bakers selling cakes and, we sold our cakes off the shelves.
Right.
Like there was nothing to buy at that point. So we were in the process of, putting together a book proposal and going to New York, but it's not like there was like hundreds of thousands of dollars or any money. There was zero money coming in at that point. And so, and none of us have any business background. So what we started doing while we were working our full-time jobs, we would wake up at, like 4:30 or 5 in the morning. We would meet at Starbucks before we went into work for an hour and work on the business, work on the plan, work on, getting incorporated, doing all those things, and then go to work and then come back after work and then figure out what we needed to do for the business and the book and all the things. And so one of the things that was really important to us in the beginning was, because that was a big question for the 5 of us, we were very cognizant of that. We're 5 business partners. We all started this. We were all going to be equal business partners. And that's the way that we wanted it. So we had, we talked about questions like, what if we pitch a book and they only want 2 of us to write it and they only want 1 of us to be on the cover? Like, are we okay with that? No, we were 5. The brand of all 5 of us was going to be the brand of all 5 of us. So that was something that was important from the get-go. And so one of the other things that we did that I'm so grateful for, because we didn't, just in terms of the structuring and how to run the business and all of the things, we put together an informal board of advisors with people from all different business backgrounds in Vancouver. So we had Judy Brooks, who was amazing, and her daughter Devin Brooks, and her founded the Blow Dry Bar, and now Devin runs there. But Judy is amazing. She's in a mediation background and writing, so she was great. We had Jake Boxer, who was a venture capitalist. We had Bev Briscoe, who was on the board of Canada Gold Corp and is an amazing, she was the CFO of another company as well. So we had all these different minds just help us and to figure it out. So that was super helpful. And so from there, and then, we wanted to be careful because our business was very upside down from a lot of businesses where, once the book deal and then came, there was a large influx of money up front. And so, but we were very cognizant of, okay, we need to create a sustainable business here, have 5 of us who were taking equal pull financially from the business. We always wanted to have a cash flow in the business. This was all in like 2007. So the interesting thing about what's happening now is that when our book actually launched and like the business of Smart Cookies was ready to launch was literally like a month after the recession. Yeah. So we were like, oh, great, that's super ideal timing to launch a business about like girls taking charge of their finance. So we learned a lot of lessons up front that honestly has served us now, and I'm especially grateful for it now in business. So, always having those cash reserves and having a diversified income stream and systems that we put in place back then during the recession that now I'm like, wow, I'm so grateful that I had those lessons and had those systems in place. So the evolution of the business, so we ran it as 5 equal business partners. We learned over the years that we needed. So Katie and I ended up splitting the role of CEO, and then Ange was in charge of, she was doing writing, and she's an amazing writer. Andrea was doing marketing, and Robin was helping. She's a social worker, so she's like a natural community engager, and so she was really strong in that area. So we delegated based on our roles and expertise, and definitely learned that we needed, we were like, we need 1 leader, and then it was like, Katie and I, we'll do it together.
Right. So what exactly did you guys determine from this point that your business was actually doing from here? Were you essentially just mimicking the exact process that you guys had all taken yourselves and like worked on together and turned that into something that that other women could sign up for to do? Gotcha.
Could model, exactly. And so, when we wrote our book, that's what it was. It was our system for achieving our financial goals. And then the long-term vision of the business has always been to create, a lifestyle brand and an education platform that builds on that system, so that gives people the tools to take charge of their finances so that they can create the life that they've been dreaming of. And so to have that model and to have access to not only the tools, but the support. So that's what makes ours different, is that, not only is it the know-how and the step-by-step plan, but that support and that accountability is so important, and that's sort of the secret ingredient in the secret sauce. So that's the vision and the platform that the business was built on and is still sort of thriving on and growing on today, which is really cool to look back and then to see where things have gotten to today.
Totally. So I know that it has evolved because now you are running a business on your own. Is that correct?
Yes.
So
Yep.
how did it end up being that after the ball went down, how did you guys make the decision? Because I think this is another, I would say, I don't want to call it a hot topic, but I would say a topic that also doesn't get sort of brought to light, just like maybe the awkward money conversations that women don't want to have. I would say working with other women is also another topic that has gotten, I mean, in centuries past, a negative light put to it that, oh, you would never work together with women. That's always a catty work environment. All of the stereotypical things that happen when people talk about women working together, which I really in the last few years have seen such an immense shift, even in what is being sort of portrayed on social media and the way that women are supporting women. I love how that mindset is really changing. But what would you speak to that in, because you are the only person that I've ever met that has had 4 other business partners. This is not just colleagues and people that you are working with. That's like common. But to actually have 5 women together who are equally running a business, there aren't many people that I know of that would be able to say that they've done that before. And so how did you guys manage that and figure that part of it out without it sort of affecting your friendship, which is how it all started and was more important than the business?
There is so much uncertainty in the world right now, and while gathering and coming together needs to take extra precautions and in a lot of cases a temporary hiatus right now, this doesn't mean that we still can't connect in unique ways to keep our relationships and connections strong. If you are on the lookout for a creative way to cheer up a friend, show your significant other, bestie, coworkers, and special people in your life that you care, I've curated adorable, delicious, and unique candy grazing boxes for you to ship out. A beautiful, delectable candy grazing box can be shipped right to your door or as a surprise to a friend's door on your behalf. Free delivery in Saskatoon and shipping available across Canada. And because we could all use a little more joy right now, you can get an exclusive code to receive 15% off by typing CELEBRATE15 at checkout. You can click right from your home at celebratingsimplelife.com and use the code CELEBRATE15 because today is a great day to celebrate.
One of the things that we did right from the get-go was create, I don't even know what we called the document, but it was basically things that outlined, like, and Judy was so great at guiding us through that. She said, you're not going to want to have these conversations now, but you need to, because these situations are going to come up and you need to, like, write out your procedure guidelines for what you're going to do when these things come to light. So from the get-go, like before we had money in the bank, before we did anything in the business, we laid out those documents, and we had an outsider help us, which was so we knew if we wanted to be like the 5 of us all being equally, but we needed to bring in an outside voice to be a mediator, essentially. And so Judy was that person to us. So we created sort of a governing document that helped us in times of, and it was interesting for us too, because it even involved things like, okay, we are a personal finance brand. So, like, what if one of us goes off the deep end financially? Like, what are we going to do? And but those were the real conversations that we needed to have. We had those in place. I think we learned really quickly that we couldn't all, it doesn't make sense, we could all be equal, but it didn't make sense for us to have equal responsibility, and it didn't make sense for us to have equal leadership. Like, no company or organization can run with 5 people trying to lead. But that took us a couple of years to figure out too. So once we did that, and so what we would do is have tried to have them quarterly, those meetings with our board of advisors who would talk us through different challenges that we were having, how to structure the business. And so that was really helpful to have outside help in terms of figuring that out. So 100%, I mean, we had, at this point, we were like sisters. So if you can imagine it like a family, I mean, we had huge blowouts with each other. And then the next day it's like, oh, what's for breakfast? I mean, we traveled North America together, sharing hotel rooms. We would always, when we were working with different brands and even the book publisher, and they'd always say, okay, it's like who or what do you need your accommodations? Get us our own hotel room. So we'd be like, we're fine to share one hotel room. Like, we're going to end up there together anyway, so that's fine. But it did get to the point, so after Don was born, so I had moved to Denver at this point. Our lives had just evolved. I mean, we were young single women when we started the business. And, over the course of those years, we also started getting married. I moved away, and Ange moved back to Toronto. And so our lives were just evolving, and the business was evolving. And it got to that point where we started to have those conversations about, what is, and the financial health of the business too, right? we had 5 people that we were paying, plus we were trying to bring on other employees to grow different projects, and just the sustainability financially, I think we could all see it just wasn't going to be realistic for all 5 of us to be in that position. So we had a really honest conversation where it was, do we want the brand, do we want to just, hold up that chapter and that was amazing and carry on with our lives, be thankful for that, or do we want one of us to take it and have the brand live on and let one person sort of have a chance to see where they can take it and evolve it. And so I always sort of had in my vision or gut that I would want that opportunity. And so we went through, again, like a mediation process on how that would all look. And I remember having, like, my son Jack was 3 months old or something ridiculous, 4 months.
Again, like perfect timing. Perfect timing.
I mean, honestly,
with a newborn.
Who does that? And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done this on my own. I remember I was bawling on the phone call. So we went around and she said, like, it was all by phone, said, okay, are you like passing the business on Sandra? And everyone like had to like record their yes. And then I hung up the phone and I was pulling my face up. I was so overwhelmed and appreciative that the girls would not only do it, but like with their blessing and support, like who, and I don't know what other world that happens in, but I feel like our relationships were pretty special. But then, I had to figure it out from there with a newborn, not knowing what I was doing. It was a bit of a learning curve, to say.
Another chapter for sure. Yes.
Oh,
that is amazing.
Yeah.
So did you know, like, leading into this, like, how did the conversation start, I guess, for you guys to even feel like in a place, like, were there other people other women that wanted this business as well, and it finally just got to the point where, like, it could only be one, or was everybody did it just work out in a sense that everybody kind of had other aspirations and things that they were moving on to, and because you wanted it, you got it?
Yes. Yeah. Honestly, yeah. The stars aligned in that way. I don't think anyone else. Yeah, everyone had other aspirations and other things they were excited about at the time. And so, yeah, no one else was really raising their hand. And so
that is incredible. That's incredible.
And I didn't even doubt it. I just wanted it. I just knew that.
Well, I love that because I think that, and it's funny how I love that you said this with even life evolving and stuff, because I think that it's easy to think when you are young, single, something age, that how you feel then is always how you're going to feel, and you can't really ever know how the different chapters in life,
so true.
Just being in a relationship with somebody or having a child or like just life events that happen that you can't predict or that you can't know how that's going to change your state of mind on something, how that's going to change it. And I've been the exact same way in the event planning industry, where started in a very different way to where I am today, and so many incredible, hard, beautiful, wonderful things that I wouldn't change any of them because it brought me to where I am right now. But I could have never in a million years have predicted that when I started in the industry at the ripe age of 20, that now, like, being, like, getting closer to 40 would, like, what would have all happened in those few decades to get to a place where you just feel so happy in what you're doing when you couldn't have imagined life any other way before.
Exactly. I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned is that you just, you have to trust your intuition at the time, but you never really know where it's leading you, and to have that vision and to know, what's important to you and have those values and have that vision for your life. But, that road along the way and the roller coaster and the ups and the downs, like, it's so cliche, but it really does do on your right path. So, but yeah, I mean, you don't know what you don't know until you're on the other side of it.
Totally. Well, and I almost feel like that is why I think even right now, so I feel like we're sort of expressing this in a similar way, where right now, amid this COVID crisis that's going on, where the world as we know it is very different for everybody, I feel like what you are describing in going through even figuring out your business in a new way at a time when you are having a child and a business is happening and there's a recession and blah, 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 all of these other things that are happening in life are another form of hardship, which is happening right now, that I feel like now, like, I guess I'm interested to know, how has that sort of shifted your perspective now in what's happening, and how are you staying creative and on top of your business in this, I guess you could call it a recession, sort of, in this type of time when everything is so different, again, in new ways that none of us could have predicted either. How does Smart Cookies look for you as of this last month and currently.
Exactly. As of like every day, every week it changes. But I think that's what I've learned about myself through this, is that I think this is where my creativity really comes out. And I think the reason for that is because I'm listening more and I'm paying such close attention and connecting with my community on daily, deeper level. So what's amazing about that is I'm like, oh my gosh, I can listen and then I can immediately respond. So when everyone, and I think that's the beauty that, you know, I can hop on Instagram, or I can hop into a Facebook group, or hop into the communities that I run online and say, hey, what do you guys need right now? Okay, great. And then put out a resource that is going to immediately help someone. And so that is what I've been doing on a daily basis, is trying to understand, first of all, small business owners, how can I help you? What do you need? What do you need in terms of support? What resources can I put together? And then also on the personal finance, really listening and supporting. I did open up one of my paid programs, which is called Your Richest Year, and I had that launched in January and was not expecting to open it again until 2021. But I had some people who had the financial resources and wanted to use this time to set up some financial goals and put the systems in place to take this time to do it. Then they had that option available to them. And at the same time, I was putting out a ton of free content for people who didn't have the financial resources and didn't have the time to do the paid online program right now. So that was two things that I've done. And then I'm in the works. What the plan was when I did my 2020 planning, before we knew what in the world was happening, was to launch a business accelerator program teaching, the profit system and the smart systems that essentially allowed me to grow a business in 2008, in a recession. That was irrelevant when I created that goal in 2000, prior, but I'm that one is I'm going to take the time and just really, really, really connect with my community, and then doors will open for that course in, I think, the beginning of July. And so, that's where things are right now. And they literally, I've just been pivoting and trying to adapt and really listen to people on a daily basis to see what they need and how I can serve them, which is essentially, what a business, should ideally do. And so I'm also trying to really take notice of, myself and the business and the community at this time, and really pay attention to not only what they need, but how they're reacting to. And again, just trying to learn and to grow with the community, which is a great feeling.
It is. I love that. And I think that really just sounds like the perfect combination of ways to be able to give back. You have been putting out I've loved following along with what you've been putting out there. I followed you before already, but now it seems I can see your pivot happening as you're out there putting things available for people just to help them out and to see the value in respecting their money and themselves, no matter what season of life we're in. And weirdly, that we're all in this together, which is an awesome
exactly.
I know. Right?
We would be here, but here we are.
Yeah, so. Let's just crumple our 2020 plans that we spent so many hours trying to figure out, crumple those up in the garbage, and get us type A entrepreneurs on a path of not feeling like we need to be such control freaks in our business.
Totally. It's definitely a lesson in letting go. That is for sure.
Well, I love that. And so one of the events that I am so excited to partner with you on is our Shine Collective Summit that we have scheduled for October 1st of 2020, which most likely is going to end up being rescheduled, unfortunately, just because this lead-up time right now would be the time when we're really getting everybody signed up and geared up, and it's just such a unique situation to be in that we just want to make sure that we're giving this amazing event the due diligence that it needs. And so we are taking it day by day as well, which is what we're communicating with the Shine community that we've created. But we're so excited to have you as one of our guest speakers on our panel for the event. And you're going to come back to Saskatoon and be with us in person for this event. And we're so excited.
I can't wait. I have to be honest, through all the things, and a lot of people are posting on Instagram what are you excited for when this is all over? I am so excited for this event and just being with people and having that energy. And this event especially, I feel like, is such amazing, dream come true, not only for you, I'm sure, but for, the speakers that you're going to bring in. And I'm so honored to be included, and the women who I know are going to be there, and part of, just being in that room and what is going to happen in that room, I already feel is going to be so incredible. So I am
so
excited. You better believe that is one thing I'm so looking forward to.
My excitement for this event has not lessened one single second
amidst
all of this, because I just feel even more excited because I think we're all going to need this even more than before. Like, I think that's
and
what's
we're
so
going to be
exciting.
so grateful for it.
Yes.
And, like, you're not going to take a second. No one's going to take a second of it for granted. And I think that's what is going to be, it's just going to magnify the impact that you're going to have. So it's going to be incredible.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be great. And we're going to have you on a Shine Instagram Live in the near future, and we're going to talk a little about Shine as well. But yeah, I wanted to connect the dots here so that my listeners could know that you are actually coming to Saskatoon, and you have some personal ties to the prairies here, and it's great to have you. It'll be great to have you back home and here for this amazing event. And I think that's where all of us can kind of just take a deep breath right now and just be like, it's this freeing feeling almost of, it's not just about, like, if I had to cancel Shine or reschedule Shine for a reason that was because of myself or another reason as to why it couldn't have happened, it would have been devastating. But the fact that it's getting postponed because everybody is in this together feels so different, because it doesn't feel like there's nothing that you can really blame it onto. Like, it just is.
No, you couldn't have it controlled. Exactly. Totally under your control. And everyone's in the same spot. So exactly. There's like you can kind of take a deep breath of relief on that, right? It's like,
exactly.
Nothing I could have done that would have prevented this.
That's right, which is so liberating, because I feel like as an event coordinator, that's always like the main, you're always wanting to like make every event be as, I don't like to use the word perfect because that has connotations to it. It's perfect to the viewer's eye. I know that it's not perfect. I see all of the nitty-gritties that are going underground, but my job is to make it appeal as the most beautiful experience that someone can be a part of, knowing that it's not perfect, knowing that there was 100,000 fires that had to get put out in the lead up to this experience, but getting to create an experience where people attending get to feel and be and do things differently than what they did yesterday. That's always my biggest goal. And so that for me has still lit a fire of how to make this event even. I think the inspiration is going to be even more amazing for it now because of all of this happening, because I'm just so excited to be able to create something amazing after we've all been trapped in our houses for this.
Yes. I can't wait to see it. I cannot wait.
So what would you say for yourself? You've been doing to self-care and to just keep yourself motivated and energetic, because I'm sure, like all of us, we all have these days where we're like, I feel like this is mentally exhausting a little bit. Like, I feel really motivated and energetic most days, but then there's days where I'm like, this is exhausting, just sort of feeling like and it's probably that control piece coming back. That's probably what's the exhausting part of it. I find if I can stay in the moment and just think about what we're doing today, which is, I am always like a year to 2 years ahead in my work. Like, I'm always forward, like an event doesn't happen tomorrow. It's like booked, and then like a year later it's happening, and it's always that forward thinking process where I feel like it's almost been a job hazard to stay present in my own personal life too, because I'm like blowing it all out of the water, where it's like, hey Kim, listen, nothing's happening tomorrow or the day after or the day after that either, and maybe not even for 100 more days. So just calm down and be in the moment. And that for me has been the biggest gift in all of this, where I am actually not thinking about tomorrow. I'm like, what are we doing today? And just today. That's where it ends.
And making it easy on yourself too. I had that moment, just the same thing, right? I feel like I have, for the most part, I'm feeling super positive and creative, and in like it's been a positive experience, I would dare to say, if that's okay to say. But
I agree with you. We'll take the flack if people want to give us flack for that. But I totally agree with you. Like, mostly positive.
It's just been my personal experience. But in those moments but it's funny, right? It's like it's positive, and then all of a sudden it's like the worst ever. There's no middle ground. And so for me, like even this morning, we were in the homeschool, and I have a kindergartner, so it's like, it's not independent learning. It's so hands-on, and she just wasn't feeling it, and, was frustrated, and I was finding myself getting so frustrated, and I was like, you know what? We're just going to color, and we're going to go outside, and we're going to do some yard work. Like, those are the little, like, the moments, and again, like, I'm, I have high standards for myself and my business, and, like, all those things. I'm hard on myself as a business owner, but, trying to relax a little bit, be easy on myself, be easy on the kids, and just take that time and just really listen to, like some days we have days where like we're all dialed in and we're in our little routine, and sometimes it's a gong show, like it's a dumpster fire. It's just a hot mess in every sense of the word. We just kind of like go outside or for me, it's like hopping on a Zoom call with my girlfriends. Actually, Cookies and I did a Zoom call a couple of weeks ago when we all had like a virtual cocktail hour, which was awesome.
Yes.
So that was great. And then, doing things like I've really gotten into gardening. So I have seeds that I'm growing right now, and we're doing a lot of work outside and bubble baths and some wine and just, getting involved in making dinner like a big event where we get the kids involved and, just having some fun and making the everyday not the everyday. So trying to figure out, and we just do that on a day-to-day basis and see what we're feeling. But, fingers crossed. It's like the days, you just never know. You never know what the day's going to bring, and you just kind of have to roll with it.
Yes, which is not always the gift of mine. So I feel like this has been challenging in 1,000 different ways, but I've had this, I think I've probably said this on the podcast so many times already, but you can't ever learn the lessons that I'm a fairly self-aware person, and I know what I'm really great at, and I know what my weaknesses are, and not that makes them any easier to sort of conquer, but I'm able to identify them, and I can be aware when I'm in a situation that is definitely not my strong suit. But you can't ever learn a lesson without those things presenting themselves. So I always say to myself, Kim, you're going to be patient today. Today, you are going to work on your patience, and when things come your way, you are going to be mindful of the fact that you're going to take a deep breath before you react to a situation, and just be conscious that you don't need to instantly react, because that is my biggest weakness for sure. And when you say that to yourself, when I say that to myself, guaranteed, maybe 30 seconds later, something is going to flare up that came up, or somebody will have done something, or the kids will be fighting, or somebody was baking something and dumped it all over the kitchen, or doesn't matter what it is, just things that come up where you think everything's going tickety-boo, and then all of a sudden something comes up, you're like, ugh, just don't want to deal with it, where it's almost like you manifest that out to yourself, where when you tell yourself you want to be more patient, every single possible impatient scenario is going to cross your brain, because you have to practice it in order to be better at it.
It's so true. It's so true. You know what? It's so funny, though. I feel the same way when I have those moments where I can give myself a minute in the morning and just remind myself of that, right? Like, just take a deep breath and, look for those situations that are going to test your patience, because they're going to come, and almost not expect them, because you don't want to manifest being, but you also need to know that they're going to happen. And so just to give yourself that moment to take a deep breath and to take a break. And it's not even take a break. It's just, you're so right in saying that. It's just not reacting in a split second. It's even if you take 10 seconds and just, try to shift. And
is so much easier said than done. I feel like I am almost feeling like I'm noticing that more about myself because of having this month being at home, because I'm seeing my kids also have some of those failures in the things that they know aren't necessarily their gift, the same way I know what is and isn't mine. We talk about that a lot, my girls and I, just about what our gifts are and what they are not, and how to be able to identify that about yourself, so that you can actually be self-aware in a situation that is probably going to cause something to flare up in you, to already be mindful of the fact of how to take that deep breath, because it is always just a reaction, right? It's not bad to be angry, and it's not bad to be sad, and it's not bad to just want to punch your pillow. That's fine, but it's sort of how you're reacting to that coming around to the people around you, and even what you're reacting by telling yourself in your head, I think, can be kind of detrimental to your mental health without really even realizing it, because it is so just reactive.
It's so true. What's interesting is I was doing some online education myself during this time, and I was working with a mentor group, and we were talking about the words that you use when you're triggered. So it's pay attention to the words that you use all the time that you might not even realize. And so for me, it's when I'm in the state of with my kids, or even with business, if I'm stressed out, I always say I'm gonna lose it. That's my thing. I always say I am gonna lose it. Yeah. And when I think about it, I'm like, what? And so the thing is, it's exactly that. It's to kind of laugh, but then to question what does that mean when you're saying it, and and how can you reframe it? Because I'm like, what are you going to lose? Like, you're going to lose your mind. You're going to lose
right.
your sanity.
Yeah.
Like, you're not actually going to lose anything in the situation. So what word can you use differently in that scenario? So, like, instead of, like, I'm going to lose it, it's like, I'm going to just think about this for a minute. Well, and it's like, it sounds so silly, but it makes you laugh at yourself when you're doing it, and it takes the edge and the anger and the frustration out of it.
Honestly, I feel like there's like probably we could do a whole episode just on psychology behind all of that, because it's true.
Totally.
Like, we have had, like, I have had a therapist say that to me. We've had, like, there's so much stuff just about how to be able to just figure out about yourself what can diffuse a situation. And obviously, if we're going to find the opposite of being furious, laughter would probably come on the opposite end of being incredibly serious or incredibly joyful, right? And so laughing is the thing. And we've actually started, I mean, you know, your children are around each other a lot during this time, and my kids they are friends, but they are not used to spending this much time together. So obviously they are learning a whole new routine of how to hang out with each other, as well as all of us are learning each our own unique relationships with each other right now during this time. But they have had to come up with a code word of what they need to say to the other person. And I always say to them, when two people are fighting, only one person has to be able to have their wits about them. You guys have a 50-50 shot of one person being able to have their wits about them enough to remove yourself from the situation, and not deal with it and always just walk away, but to at least give that cooling off period of 10 seconds or an hour or whatever you need in between. And so now they have their code word that they found. I don't even know where they heard this word or where they figured out what this even was, is weenus. The word weenus, which is the elbow skin of your arm. That is the technical term of the little wrinkly part of the skin where your elbow is when your arm is straight. And I don't know if that's the actual real term or if that's like slang term for what that is. I'm not sure. I might have to Google that. But that's their thing. And it makes them laugh every single time because it sounds like something else that they're saying. And they think it's hilarious. So one of them, if they can get their wits about them to just like yell, weenus, in the middle of the situation. This is what happens. They start laughing and they forget that they were just trying to like beat each other up on their trampoline, you know? Yeah. So anyways,
I love that. So
we'll have to just post out about what strategies are for learning how to react left, because ours is
exactly. I love it.
I love it. So I love your self-care ideas and techniques, because I think that self-care can sometimes feel like, obviously amidst COVID, self-care has to become a little bit more basic, which is what I think it should be anyways. I think sometimes when you say the term self-care, people think, oh, I should be going to the spa for a whole day, but I can't afford to do that, or this, and that is self-care. But I love gardening, bubble baths, wine, cooking together as a family. Like, those are all just like basic, right?
Yeah. And that's something that I'm really going to try to take to the other side of this. And not going to lie, like, I'm definitely looking forward to a spa visit and a couple of those.
Agreed.
But I also think, like, bringing, like, I have a new appreciation for, like, making the best of what we have at home and realizing that there is more than enough available to us, like, at home without spending, like, this goes back to Smart Cookie roots, like, not spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, and just, you know, making the most of what you have, and lighting a candle and finding a book on the bookshelf that you haven't read yet and opening it up and digging through old magazines and putting together your vision board. Like, there's so many cool ways to use what you have and to have, like, to edit your space and to appreciate what you have. And I feel like not only does that help your finances, but that also helps, like, your peace of mind and just how you feel about yourself and about life. So I'm definitely trying to, like, remember that. Like, there's so many things I feel like I'm trying to remember about this time that I want to take with me on the other side of all of this too. So I'm self-care in those ways that we're enjoying that for myself and in our family too. I hope that we can always remember and learn from.
Oh, I absolutely love that. That is exactly what I also feel like I hope to be able to take out of that. I love the whole editing your home and your life. That is just so perfect. Thank you so much for being on the show today. This was enlightening, and we're going to have to do multiple episodes because there's so many things that I could still ask you questions about and talk about. But thank you so much for sharing your story and just being so open about where you're at right now. I love it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This was my self-care for today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being on the show.
This show would not be possible without you, my incredible listeners. It would mean the world to me if you would subscribe to Celebrating Simple Life on Apple Podcasts or download and listen on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you choose to listen. If you really want to make my day, leave a review. These reviews, ratings, and sharing screenshots of podcast episodes that were engaging for you on your Instagram stories and tagging friends that you think should hear the episode too really helps the podcast grow. It makes me so happy that I often select reviews to read on the show, and if yours is chosen, you will receive a special gift from me. Thank you for being a part of my mission to connect stories of business and life. Cheers to Celebrating Simple Life.